was a loud noise, a boom, and I could hear stuff hitting the roof of the house and rocks, and it got very orange everywhere, orange, and it sounded like a jet engine.
Bob Hensel has spent most of his life in San Bruno, 35 years as a fireman for the city, and never had he seen anything like this.
This time I was the person running out while the other firemen were coming in.
He saw dozens of homes burn in his career, but this time it was his own.
So this was your home?
Yes, this right here was my driveway. There's the address on the curb, and yeah, you can see the cutout for the driveway. That was it. Now just like a hole in the ground.
Did you know that you had a gas pipeline literally 200 yards from your home?
But I didn't know there was a major distribution line running so close to the house.
If people knew about the pipelines in their area, they might respond differently, and they might prevent tragedies from happening if it's...
Carl Weimer knows firsthand what the people of San Bruno went through. 11 years ago, this gasoline pipeline in Bellingham, Washington ruptured, killing 3 children and sending 250,000 gallons of fuel into Whatcom Creek. And Weimer was there.
It ignited upstream, and then the creek exploded down and then back up as the fuel, kept churning and re-blowing up. So there was fireballs all the way up and down this creek. Trees were burning. All this vegetation is brand new in the last 10 years.
Now Weimer runs the Pipeline Safety Trust, a watchdog group dedicated to getting more information about pipelines into the hands of consumers.
Should Americans be afraid of what's in their backyard after what happened in San Bruno?
I don't think Americans need to be afraid, but they need to be aware. They need to know where the pipelines are, and they need to help push to make sure the companies are doing what the regulations say and the regulations are strong enough.
But that regulation is split between federal and state governments. The Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, or PHMSA, regulates interstate lines. But overseeing the San Bruno pipeline fell to the California Public Utilities Commission. They employ just 9 inspectors to monitor 100,000 miles of pipe. PHMSA wouldn't talk to us, but the CPUC did. Paul Clannon is their executive director.
But 6 months ago, PG&E inspected this particular line and they said it passed. What does that tell you?
Well, we don't know yet until the National Transportation Safety Board tells us what caused that accident. But I think we can all draw the conclusion that the aging infrastructure in this country and the fact that we've now had actually several pipeline bursts and several pipeline spills across the country in recent months are beginning to be suggestive that the former ways that we did things may not be good enough in an era when the infrastructure is aging. Some of these pipes are 50 years old, 60 years old, some even older than that.
Many pipelines were laid in rural areas years before suburbs expanded over them. Now Americans are living on top of more than 2 million miles of line, an ever-growing maze of pipelines carrying everything from natural gas to aviation fuel.
People are surprised to find out that the regulations don't require that buildings are a certain distance from the pipeline. You can build a pipeline or a house right up next to a pipeline.
Like these homes behind me in Rockville, Maryland, just steps away from our nation's capital and less than 100 feet away from a high-pressure natural gas pipeline. The same line passes under a commuter rail and a major road. Yet an October 2000 study sponsored by the Gas Research Institute shows that easements of 100 feet or less may not be wide enough to ensure safety in the case of a catastrophic failure. The study says a 26-inch pipeline like the one in Rockville, if it ruptured completely, would have a hazard radius of 500 feet.
The gas pipeline system is maintained very well.
Terry Boss is the safety director for the Interstate Natural Gas Association of America. He says that homes are safe because serious incidents involving transmission lines, like the one in San Bruno, are exceedingly rare.
It's not to say that we catch everything that's going on, but we've got an excellent safety record. We transmit about 25% of the energy that is used in the U.S., and we've got a low, very, very low case of fatalities involved in that transportation of that fuel.
In recent years, operators have been stepping up their use of high-tech equipment called smart pigs to inspect pipelines. These multi-million-dollar robots root through every inch of a line, searching for cracks or corrosion. But many of the nation's pipes, like the one in San Bruno, can't be checked this way because they're too old and have turns that are too tight for a smart pig to navigate.
We think it's critical that, especially in high population areas, you try to get those pipelines redone so they are piggable and so companies really do know what the problems are.
The industry says the cost of retrofitting these pipes and running inline inspections will cost more than $4 billion, and consumers will probably foot the bill.
Every part of our business is essentially paid by the customers that do it. We try to do it efficiently, we try to do it safely, but if there are some additional expenditures, eventually it will get back to the consumer.
I do not accept that argument that's going to cost us so much.
Chairman James Oberstar heads the House Transportation Committee that plans to tighten pipeline regulation in the aftermath of the accident. He says the industry needs to change a culture that assumed its safety plans were good enough.
It's far better to invest the money up front. That's your cost of business. That's your cost of serving the public.
Back in San Bruno, Bob Hensel plans to start anew in what's left of his neighborhood. And as he begins over, he wants the industry to do the same.
I'd like to see that gas line out of my neighborhood, but moving it's going to be in somebody else's neighborhood, but I just wish it was out of mine.
In San Bruno, California, Dan Goldstein, Energy Now.